Hello and welcome to this video. My name's Jack Jennings and I'd like to tell you about this new album, Spirit at Play, by my band Nataraja. This is a live album that was all recorded in one night. Just one concert gave us all the material that we needed for a live album. We are taking traditional Indian compositions. We're playing things like Rag Sarang, Rag Jog, Rag Malkons, Rag Hamsadwani. There's some original compositions in there too. And the idea with this band is that we're creating arrangements for Indian traditional compositions that hold that composition and give it the space that it needs to still sound like that rag, but at the same time allow different influences, allow different kind of styles to come into it. So I'll let you guys hear a bit of the music now, some clips from the concert where the album was recorded. And then after that, I'm going to just explain to you a little bit more about the inspiration and a bit more about the creative process behind conceiving this album. So thanks very much and just enjoy some music for now. hope you enjoyed that, and if you'd like to buy the album, it's available on Bandcamp. You can download it or you can buy it as a physical CD, and you can also download individual songs as well. So just to go a bit more in depth about how this music was conceived, I've studied Indian classical sitar, and I've studied putting it on the guitar as well. I've sat in front of my gurus like Rupa Panesar and Shakir Khan and other classical musicians that I've worked with, and I've found a way to explore Indian classical music on the electric guitar. And for several years I was just trying to do it in as much of a pure traditional way as I possibly could with the electric guitar, and try to remain as faithful as possible to the texture and the stylistic tendencies of the music. So almost as if I was playing traditional sitar material but just on an electric guitar. And I'm still, in that process. That never really stops, and I've got students who I'm teaching to do this. I've got the Indian Classical Guitar Academy, so this is really my full-time job. But what I wanted to try to do with Nataraja was to bring in my earlier influences like Jimi Hendrix and Miles Davis. John McLaughlin, of course, is a massive inspiration for his work with Shakti, and all kinds of different influences like John Coltrane, the musicians who I grew up listening to. And those musicians were actually reaching out to Indian classical music. They were inspired by Indian classical music, and they took on a bit of that spirit in their improvisations. So what I've tried to do here is take my traditional training with Indian classical music, but then try to embed that even more deeply into the kind of soundscapes and the kind of spirit, the hot, intense, burning kind of way that Jimi Hendrix and John McLaughlin, John Coltrane, the way that these guys would really, really play. Because there's a different kind of expression, there's a different kind of freedom that comes from that style of music that's more of the coming from blues and jazz, rock, and trying to marry that with the spirit of Indian classical music and some of the disciplined improvisational approaches of Indian classical music. So for a long time it almost felt like these things were in two separate worlds, and it was difficult to blend them. I felt like I could do a traditional style of Indian classical music, or I could cut loose and play more of a free-form jazz rock approach. But with this band, I've found a way to actually really bring them together in a way that feels kind of complete. At least for me, it embodies everything that I really want to do musically. It feels like it's beginning to be possible in this kind of setting. So to do this, I've needed to think about the right kind of arrangements and the right way to use the traditional material, but then also go a bit beyond that and allow different ideas in. There's times where I do almost bend the rules of the rag a little bit. There's times where I might include one or two notes that aren't traditionally in the rag, but only for very brief moments, just so it allows the guitar to fully expand and express itself in the way that the guitar kind of wants to be played at times. So this is a fusion album. It's not by any means a traditional album. Most of the music, most of what I'm playing on the guitar, about 90% at least of what I'm playing, is actually traditional, very rag, sitar inspired playing. But there's just these little moments here where I just push it a little bit further, just to let that kind of Jimi Hendrix essence, just let that come in and let that kind of breathe and do its thing for a while. But I feel that it's very important to keep remembering the source of the music, keep remembering that where the rag is coming from, or where the time cycle is, and how to still think about it as if you are playing Indian classical music, but just with a different sound, a different volume, a different kind of intensity. And there's lots of inspiration, there's lots of interaction between me and Andy Edwards on drums, and he's kind of playing the role of the tabla player in a way, but doing it in more of a kind of Mitch Mitchell, Billy Cobham-esque way. So we're playing off each other and trading phrases and all these kind of things that drummers would do in a jazz context and tabla players would do in a North Indian context. We're playing with that kind of interaction, and that's where a lot of the journey of the music comes from, how the drums and the guitar are kind of talking to each other. And then the bass lines are devised in a way that supports the fabric of the composition, supports that single tonal center. So there's no chord changes, there's no different harmony ideas involved. It's all still really relying on that rag concept, and the bass lines are almost like a kind of rhythmic drone that can still improvise around the core theme, but the bass player John here, who's doing a very good job of staying disciplined and giving the support that rag needs. And then Richard Boxley on analog modular synthesis, he's providing that kind of soundscape, the drone that you'd normally have from the tampura. He's doing that with his modules that are all linked up together. This analog modular synthesis is very complicated, having all these different boxes wired up together, creating these different drones and creating sometimes like sort of harp-like swells that are all following the notes that are in the rag as well. So we've taken our time to get the right kind of arrangement, and then we can improvise with that and see where it goes from there. So there's a lot of freedom in this band, but it has to work within the right kind of confines, so it still complements that rag and gives the right kind of template for that rag to breathe and express itself and be experienced as if it's still rag jog, or still rag Madhavanti, or still rag Malkons, but just allow it to go further, allow it to incorporate new sounds, new kind of rhythms, and new kind of intensity as well, because of the nature of having amplified guitar, having drums. It's a completely different kind of soundscape, but still with a lot of the musical language taken from Indian classical music. So what's coming next for the band is that I'm adapting new rags, I'm looking at new compositions that we can do in this format, and I'm actually going to be playing with a different lineup for the next album, so it's going to be interesting to see how that develops. I'm going to be having different guest soloists as well. There's been talk of Omar Puente joining on electric violin, and other musicians that I work with. I'm looking to include some different soloists, but I don't want to say anything for sure yet, because we'll see what happens. But I think the next album will be a continuation and a development of these ideas, but incorporating some different voices and different kind of textures. Each album will be different, and we might record the next one live as well. We'll see how it goes. So very excited to see how Nataraja can expand and keep exploring Indian classical music, but in this kind of rock jazz fusion setting. So thanks very much to everyone who supported the album. Please go and have a look at it on Bandcamp. Keep supporting what we're doing, because it's challenging to get a band like this off the ground. We don't really fit into any particular scene, we don't fit into any particular genre exactly. We're trying to do our own thing here. So if you like the music and you like what we're doing, then please support us and enjoy the album. So thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon.